Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name's Claire and this is the Veg Plot Thickens. Today's project, more compost, filling this bed that was never completely filled up because I was going to put sweet corn in here this year, but I've now changed my mind. The plans are forming and I'm going to put a rhubarb crown in here, and I have something very exciting that I'm going to plant in here as well that it's taken me ages to source because they didn't have them in stock. So I'll get the soil filled in and then I'll tell you about what I'm going to plant in here. This bag's very heavy because it was obviously wet on the pile. The trusty Horry is at it again. Oh, it's all gone outside. Right, now that we've got the compost in the bed, we're going to get round to the planting. I've decided that as the bed next to this is also a perennial bed, then I'm going to turn this into a perennial bed as well. So, what is going in here? I have a rhubarb crown. Doesn't look much at the moment, does it? This is a variety called red champagne, so I'm going to sort of plonk that around here somewhere. And then these, although they don't particularly look that colour at the moment because they're sort of dried up, these are Jerusalem artichokes. Now I can hear Danny from Grow Up channel going, oh, don't put those in your garden, Claire, because I heard him talking about them on heard it on the grapevine chat recently. But these aren't the very tall Jerusalem artichokes. These are a variety called dwarf, and they are a genuine dwarf variety. They only grow up to 60 centimetres tall. The skins on them are a vivid red colour, and they don't shade other plants. I mean, they won't particularly shade much here because they're at this side of the garden and south is behind me. But I really fancy giving them a go, but I didn't like the idea of how tall they were. I'm kind of inspired here by Kerry from the Dog on the Plot, because Kerry grew them and has obviously enjoyed eating them since she's harvested them. But they did make me smile watching her battle through her garden to get to the compost bins with them last year. So I was kind of put off by the size until I saw that there was a dwarf variety. So I've purchased these with my own money from Incredible Vegetables online, and I'm going to give them a go and see if I like them. So they'll be down the bottom end of the bed. You have to plant them 10 to 15 centimetres deep, 30 centimetres apart. So I should get a few down there. And also in this bed, then later in the year, I'm going to plant some globe artichokes, which I'll be sowing shortly. I have two varieties, green and the purple-headed ones. No idea whether I'm going to like them, but I saw Nanu growing them last year on plot number 9 and watched her and Grinch trying them. And the actual plants themselves fascinated me. They are so striking. So even if I don't like the taste of them, to actually grow them, I just think that they'd be beautiful in the garden. And I also have some ochre tubers on order. So when they arrive, I'll be able to perhaps put a couple in here as well. And I'll put some somewhere else in the garden. But I think I'll just complete this bed. So that's another bed on the plan ticked off for this year. Really excited about that. So let's get cracking. Laurie, the Horry, as she's been nicknamed, is in action again. I have some more of this fish blood and bone, which I'm hoping it's not quite so windy today, so that I won't have the same as happened last time. Looking good so far. Didn't put too much in either. Right, now you need to leave the crown above the surface, which I'll do. And hopefully we won't have too much more frost. Now we're heading towards February. It's actually quite spring-like today. Loving today. Going to just stick a piece of the card there because I will come back with a label so that I don't lose where I've planted it. And now I'll just line up the artichokes. So 1, 2, 3, As I'm planting these a lot deeper, I'm not putting any additional fertiliser in there because there is a lot of well-rotted manure at the bottom of this bed. So I'm pretty certain that they'll be in that. Nearly put that one in upside down. And that's that done. Where of water. I do have a mains tap. I quite like just getting it straight out of the trough. It's quicker than waiting for the tap. Right, what I thought I'd do now is give you a bit of a mini tour of what's growing and what isn't growing in the garden. I don't know how well you can see through the bed, but in here we have Provence white and cork white garlic and some shallots. There's plenty of space in this bed, so I might interplant a few more shallots or onions between them. This bed is a half bed full of battered, and I mean they've been battered by the storms, onions. There's a mix of red and white onions in there. Just offhand, I can't remember the variety. Electric rings a bell for one of them. They're onion sets, and then obviously I've got half the bed left that I can plant some of the onions that I'm growing myself into there, if they're successful enough to do that, obviously. And then I'm going to give over another half bed somewhere to onions as well. These are the broad beans that I planted out. Well, some were direct sown and some were planted from the greenhouse. They've still got their pigeon protection around them. Won't be long before I'll actually have to put proper supports up for them. But they're doing okay. These are the ones that were direct sown, and these are the ones that came out of the greenhouse. And I have to say, the greenhouse ones do seem to be overtaking the direct sown ones now, although there's less nibbling on some of the direct sown ones compared to the greenhouse ones, bizarrely. I'm not sure why. You can see that I've left the fleece around the bed that they had when we had the really cold snap a week or so ago. Obviously, as it's only the end of January, I'm expecting to see more frosts yet before spring arrives. So I've just left it pinned in place so that's easy to put back over them when need be. And I'll just show you into the polytunnel. Such a beautiful sky today. Everything seems to be doing okay in here. The endives, red chicory, the broccoli rhubarb, which is pretty much close to harvesting now. I'll be taking some of those shortly. The chard's kind of coping with the weather that we've been having. Been harvesting a few of the mooly radish. You can see the rhubarb on this side is definitely about ready to harvest. That's the Arctic or alpine lettuce. The bed behind me has always been my favourite bed though. Still got a few little gems here, need to harvest a few of those today. Then my early carrots resist a fly, they seem to be doing okay. They've grown on a little bit over winter. The mustards, keep picking them, keeps coming back. And then a few spring onions at the end. I'll just harvest some more of this mixed mustard. It's lovely in a salad, really peppery. Take a bit of this rhubarb. Oh, this one looks bigger than some of the others. Wow, look at that. I've not done very well with all of the others, but look at the size of that. I'm very impressed with that. It's 22 degrees in here today. Everywhere needs a good water. To come on to the original garden plot to show you what's going on in this bed, because I think I'm about to lose these purple sprouting broccoli, and I'll show you why. Look, the stems have rotted. Top leaves don't look too bad, but as you can see, the big leaves have wilted quite a lot. This stem is also hollow and rotten. I'd love to know, those of you that have grown purple sprouting broccoli before, do you think this was the frost that got to them, or maybe the winds? I'm trying to think about it positively. It's more things for the compost, so it's not just wasted when it's a failed crop, is it? It's really hard for me to think that less than 6 months ago these beds were all that I had, and I was so excited about them, along with the greenhouse that we have on the garden. There's a few new projects coming soon as well. We bought a greenhouse for my sister's plot, and that arrived last week, so we need to get that sort of built. It's a Hall's glass greenhouse. We're going to have a brick wall built around it so that it's put in a very similar way to this greenhouse on the lawn here. This has been standing since 1987, and it's built up onto these bricks, and then the base has been sort of cemented in around extra. It is bolted down as well. We looked for months on the free pages on Facebook, sort of being quite patient about it, seeing if anything was the right size, right location. And we just couldn't get anything. They were either close but too small, or too big, or they were miles away the right size, but it would have been a sort of a 6-hour round trip just to get there. And obviously with having to dismantle them and things as well, it was just not viable. So we bit the bullet and bought one from Hall's in the sale that they had just after Christmas. That arrived on Tuesday, and then Saturday night on our very local free pages, lo and behold, did I see a greenhouse offered on there 8x6. So me and Duncan went to look at that yesterday, and we are picking that up tomorrow. And we were thinking of putting 2 together on my sister's plot, but actually we're now thinking of putting the second one here in this bed. Where we were going to put it on my sister's, it got quite wet there over winter, and the guy that's going to build the bases up thinks that the base might move because it's too wet where the second one would go there. So it looks like it might go here. This is just an area that I dug off to put turnips and swede on. And the complete irony of telling you this story is that before I had the new plot developed, all I ever wanted was a second greenhouse. And it was Duncan that pushed me to have the bigger plot, the polytunnel, everything. And it seems quite ironic to think that there's now going to be a second greenhouse, which was originally all I ever wanted. So it's just crazy how these things happen, isn't it? I mean, I love the new plot, can't wait to get growing in it, but it did make me laugh when I thought the very irony of having that second greenhouse here potentially in the end. Anyway, I've rambled enough. It's starting to rain again, so I'm going to go and get myself warm and dry. You look after yourselves. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.